Okay. Any conversation that has to be around the MVP 100% has to include CJ Stroud. I'm telling everybody what he is doing is overcoming and covering up a lot of deficiencies right now in their offensive unit. I do think, although they scored 41, Nico was missed.
Yeah.
But the positive is Stephon Diggs very much so stepped forward and made some big plays for this offense. I'm not saying he stepped into that one role, but if he has to play the one role for a couple weeks, I think that you have a lot of confidence in doing that.
I just look so forward every week, Monday, to watching CJ Stroud on
tape. Look at this throw.
More than any other quarterback. Because I'm just saying, you do not appreciate the level of difficulty you described until you see it on tape, until you see the tightness of windows, the pressure that he is under. He is making more special passes than any quarterback in the NFL this year.
I'm going to tell you what you don't understand the difficulty of. Bro, Mina talking with all that hair in her face.
Mina's
wind is blowing.
The wind is like blitzing Mina in the face, and she says, I don't care. I'm going to keep talking to the ball.
Here, like in one of those storms.
That's insane.
Never been under that much pressure.
By the way, earlier Mina was watching CJ Stroud film and yelling at us about all the great passes. So absolutely true over there. All right, more to come here on NFL Live. Remember,
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about this, because you guys know that I was like, okay, I want to see a really clean game from CJ Stroud. I want to see like no interceptions, no fumbles. I want to see a perfect game. Right? Time to get this momentum going. I don't really respect the Patriots. I have incredibly high expectations and standards for CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. And I didn't get that game, obviously, right? That's not how that game unfolded. But there was still a lot to like. And as Dan Orlovsky pointed out, right? Like, I agree, CJ Stroud should absolutely be in the MVP conversation for all of the things that he's had to overcome and do, and some of the issues that the Texans have had throughout this season. And again, right, it is like, it's why box scores can always be misleading. You can look at the score for the Texans, 41-21. Obviously the Patriots quarterback position certainly helped with that. CJ was 20 for 31, 192 yards, a fumble, an interception, 3 touchdowns. And so if he wasn't making such beautiful passes and like just really awesome, for the most part, decisions, you would say this wasn't that good of a game, right? It's very Mahomes in that regard, where Mahomes has had some really terrible box scores, right? And some really terrible statistical performances, right? But then when you really watch the game, you're like, okay, well, he made this pass at the exact time that you needed that, right? Like, he did what needed to be done to win that game. The problem is, which is super impressive, obviously, for CJ Stroud. And like I keep reminding everyone just likes to be like, oh, once you're not a rookie, you're supposed to just be a seasoned veteran, right? It's like, once you're no longer a rookie, you're supposed to just be in your prime. You're supposed to be the best version of yourself. And that's just not true at all. You continue to get better and better and better as the years unfold. It's not like you were given grace for your rookie year, and then the second year you better be perfect and better be in your prime and better be if you're a Hall of Famer, then you're going to play like a Hall of Famer for every single game from there on out. That's not how these things work. So make no mistake about it. CJ Stroud is still very young, developing, learning, and growing and overcoming a ton. So it's just been wildly, wildly impressive. And that's why I definitely also have CJ Stroud in the top MVP conversation as well. Unfortunately, the Houston Texans just don't seem to be very popular in the media, so they just don't get a ton of love, and there's not a lot of deep conversations about them, which is very frustrating to see, because I think CJ Stroud is awesome. It's crazy. CJ Stroud got more attention his rookie year than he is right now, because he's no longer the new shiny object, I suppose. But like I was saying, I understand they're missing Nico Collins, but they still have some legit weapons. Obviously, getting the run game back, 28 carries for 192 rushing. That's awesome, right? That's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you need. And so I just want to see a cleaner passing game, right? I just want to see these minimizing these turnovers. I want to see a clean, truly clean game, because this is where my concerns lie, more than anything. And again, I'm thinking big picture. I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking the Texans should be a true Super Bowl contender, right? I'm not saying, oh, the Texans are just going to have a great year and yeah, maybe they can get to the AFC Championship game. That would be awesome. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, no, man, you got CJ Stroud. You got these weapons. You went out and got some pieces. The Texans are going all in for this season. Not to say that if it doesn't succeed, that means that they're just going to pop in the next season. But they are clearly believing what they have here as well. So my expectations are, or what I'm hoping to see is like, can you win the big games when they matter, right? Can you beat the Ravens in the playoffs, the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs? If you make it to the Super Bowl and you're going up against the Lions or the Packers, right? Like, who are you in regards to that? So I'm looking at the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, in terms of who to compare you to. And, of course, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They're the ones that are always in the playoffs, and they're the ones that always find a way to win. And if you're going to have some fumbles, if you're going to have some turnovers, they're going to expose you. If you don't play perfect ball, they're going to win. They don't need to play perfect ball. Patrick Mahomes doesn't need to be perfect because everything else they do, and especially that great defense, cleans it up. So Patrick Mahomes can throw an awful interception, but better believe that defense is going to disrupt Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and they're still going to come away with the win. That is who the Kansas City Chiefs are. So I'm looking at it is, can you beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Can you beat Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens? And in order for you to do that, they need to play better ball. Now, again, they're not 100%, so I give them the grace. But please understand what I'm saying. I'm looking at this through incredibly high expectations. I'm not saying, oh, they're not good enough. They're not playing good enough. They can't beat the Chiefs. They can't beat the Ravens. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can, you have it, but you need to clean it up. I don't know if it's a practice thing, because obviously there's some personnel, because that's even what Dan Orlovsky is kind of saying, right? He's not saying it out loud, but he's like saying they're dealing with some issues. He's not saying it's a roster issue or it's a personnel. He did say they're missing Nico, but it just seems like there's still a few too many mistakes throughout the game that I would love to see cleaned up. And that to me is like, is the preparation 100% there? Because this is a game versus the Patriots that I would have liked to see them see the Texans just do whatever they wanted to do. Case in point, the Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys, right? The Lions, who are also a top contender in the NFL, make no mistake about it, and they're definitely healthier, at least offensively, than, say, the Houston Texans. But they went up against the Dallas Cowboys, who are a better team than the Patriots, right? And they just demolished them. They did anything they wanted. Anything they wanted. You didn't get that same feel from the Texans. Again, I don't watch this game and I'm not alarmed. I'm not like, oh my God, this is concerning. Yeah, they won, but my God, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. And I feel like I have to keep emphasizing this because I don't want Texans fans to get all angry. But it's like, again, my expectations continue to be, you need to be able to beat the best. And in order to beat the best, you need to play at your best. And they have not come into that yet. I do believe they will. I do believe they will continue to settle as the season unfolds. And to me, I painted this game as that game to kind of get situated and settled. Not unlike the Packers versus the Cardinals, right? And they got that game. They definitely were really in their bag and really got comfortable. I want to see the Texans continue to get comfortable, right? They should obviously make the playoffs. And look what their record is. They could get the number 1 seed. If the Chiefs stumble a little bit, the Texans are there. So they're right there, but they have to play better ball. Don't be the Philadelphia Eagles of last season, where you have this great record. You start off 10-1, you're winning games, but it's just not quite right. You're getting away with some mistakes. You're getting away with some pretty bad moments, but you're winning. And so we could be blind and just be like, that's right, baby. It's hard to win in the NFL, which I always disagree with that sentiment. I'm always zooming in and getting lost in the weeds. I'm really trying to figure out, how are you winning? How are you losing? Did you deserve to win that game? Did you win that game, but was it just a really bad opponent? Did you make some mistakes against this bad opponent that you really should not have? Where if you make it against a better opponent, they will make you pay for it. I'm always all for really zooming in. And again, I'm doing it for the teams that I think are special, that have great coaching, have great quarterback play, have great weapons, who can actually win a Super Bowl. I'm not doing this with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Carolina Panthers, right? I'm not doing it with those teams because I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? I'm doing it with the Texans because I'm like, they're 5-1. They're great. be the 22 Eagles, not the 23 Eagles. And it's funny, before the season even started, I said, hey, they remind me of the 22 Eagles. They have the hot shot offensive coordinator, right? They have the great defensive mind who's the head coach instead of the coordinator. They have a great quarterback right now who's like ready to go. They have the weapons, and yet they added more weapons. They went out and improved at the run game. They improved defensively. They improved getting Diggs and getting a big time receiver. They did those things. Now again, they're having a little bit of bad luck with some injury issues, just the way it goes. But again, they need to find their identity. They need to be in a place where they can just consistently do what they want to do, which sounds silly to say, but Dan Orlovsky actually said it as well about the Detroit Lions, that you can look at the Lions and see that they do what they want to do, right? They want to run the ball, they run the ball, right? They are successful. So you got to look around the league, look and see what the Lions are doing, look and see what the Ravens are doing, look and see what the Chiefs are doing. Recognize that you're in that arena as well. You're invited to that room. You're a top team in the NFL, but in order to really beat those other teams, clean it up. Clean it up, play more. I don't want to say flawless because that's virtually impossible, but you can't make your life harder for yourself, right? You just can't. And that is exactly what happens consistently against the teams that are a lot of times potentially better than the Chiefs, but they still lose the Chiefs. I think the Bills were better than the Chiefs last year. I think the Ravens were better than the Chiefs last year. I think the 49ers were better than the Chiefs last year. But those teams made some mistakes, and the Chiefs made them pay for it. It gets reduced that simple. They were able to make them pay for their mistakes. So that's the lens that I'm looking at through, right? Of course this team can beat the Cowboys. Of course this team can beat the Eagles. Of course this team can beat all of these other teams. But can you really tighten up when it matters most? That's what I'm still looking for throughout this season. And again, it's still early, still got plenty of time, and still have this great cushion of a 5-1 record, which is obviously awesome and an earned luxury to have. So to me, again, I'm not sounding the alarm and saying this team's overrated. They're actually a bad team, but they're 5-1. Like, I'm not saying any of that type of stuff. It's just the expectations are high. The belief in them is high. Got to continue to grow. Got to continue to get better. Got to continue to play cleaner games, especially against inferior opponents, because you're just not going to be able to get away with it against better opponents. You're just not. So I'm excited to see what they continue to evolve. See CJ Stroud continue to grow. I totally agree with Dan Orlovsky and Mina Kimes for that matter. The things that CJ is doing and the throws that he's making are just such perfect ball. He's clearly a top quarterback in the NFL. And when you have a top quarterback in the NFL and you have a great coach and you have a great coordinator and you have some weapons, the expectations are there, right? The expectations are going to be as high as they can go. And then the rest is up to them to get it done. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud? Were you impressed by this game? Do you think they still have some things that they got to work on? Any issues or concerns? Or are you just excited that they are 5-1? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.